Hello and welcome along everybody to round 3 of the PSGL F3 Championship here in season 32. We are here for the Dutch Grand Prix at the Zandvoort circuit, which was a rather new addition to the calendar, being reintroduced in 2021 with Max Verstappen winning that particular real life Grand Prix. We are back for another round of F3. My name is Felix and I am very happy to be here once again commentating for you. Hopefully Jake will join me at some point during this race, as he certainly had to miss the first couple of rounds. He might still make it tonight, but we will have to wait and see for that. In the meantime, I'm trying to entertain you guys as best as possible around this track, featuring 14 corners with two, particularly for the Formula 1 standard, introduced banked corners. And I'm obviously speaking about turn 14, and then the next corner that we are about to come around, that is turn 3, which we can see here. Nice little banking to throw the car in. It's a lot of fun for the drivers, and it's not easy to nail it, because if you're too far up, you're just going to be spitted out by the banking. If you're too far on the inside, you're going to lose a lot of time. So it's not easy to use a banking to all your advantage. A very technical track, almost like Hungary in some way. Not too easy to overtake around here, but it looks like the drivers are really enjoying this circuit so far, on the F1 games at least, also in real life. It's not the smoothest of tracks in terms of tarmac, and also a lot of, as we see Kieran losing the rear end, and also in terms of elevation changes. You know, you can see a lot of hills going up and down. It's almost like a roller coaster, the real life drivers described it as, and it's very fun to watch the cars being thrown around here as Rick sets the new fastest time of the race, obviously our previous week's winner. Also, we have a couple of penalties that I can inform you guys about for that turn 1 lap 1 incident. PSGL goes into the lead. Alright, now let's see what Andrew can do, as Kryptonite now pops in a new fastest lap of the session, about a tenth out of Mali. Let's see, Andrew 3 tenths off that time. Lap 1, turn 1, we saw Malbrook breaking himself. He got a 20-second time penalty and 4 license points added to his tally. And also Victor got a penalty for that incident on lap 17, also into turn 1, as he came out of the pits, outbraked himself, and with that cost Kieran a bit of his front wing end plate, and he lost a lot of time due to that, which was very unfortunate for him. He was also awarded with a 10-second time penalty and 3 penalty points onto his license. So we head into this weekend then with a new championship standing of Rick leading the way with a 10-point gap to Ates, who is unfortunately still sick. He's not back for this week, sadly, as he already missed last week's Grand Prix. He once again has to miss out on this one. We've got nearly a full grid though. 19 drivers we can see are out on this circuit here, as we see Joe Bracken coming across the line for his first lap, and it's P3. So the two Aston Martin boys in P2 and P3. Nice stuff from them. Let's see if Ghost King is able to set his first time of the evening. And I'm very excited to see how the pace is going to be around this track. I think Kryptonite, who seemed to be very strong in qualifying but dropped down a little bit and made a couple of mistakes here and there in Bahrain. I'm curious to see, as Ghost King clips the inside curb, which unsettles the car quite a lot. The curbs are pretty high around most corners, so you'd rather want to avoid them in most of the flowing long corners. Kryptonite was really quick in qualifying, and at the start of the race it looked like he was able to win that race, but in the end it seemed like Rick had a bit more race pace in his car than Kryptonite had and took the race win home and made it 2 podiums out of 2 races, which is a pretty good start to the season. Obviously, as long as you are leading the championship, it is always a good sign. As we see Azai flying around the final corner of turn 14. At the end of the pits now, he just stays very close to the inside to get the shortest possible run. Goes into 10th place. A bit less than 3.5 tenths behind our current provisional pole sitter, which is once again Kryptonite. And it's going to be interesting to see where his pace will be, because overtaking will be a lot more difficult on this track than it was in Bahrain. In Bahrain we saw a couple of DRS trains forming relatively quickly, but that habit of the first stint not being too exciting in terms of racing carried from round 1 to even round 2, and I think we could see something similar here today, with the first stint being a more careful stint, a more tactical stint, staying behind, saving your ERS, and then to go full blast on your second one, as Kryptonite is about to start his second flying lap of the evening. Let's go and bot with him, coming down into turn 1. The nice and tidy run, that curb on the outside can unsettle the car quite easily, but he manages to keep the car in a good position for turns 2 and 3 here. Uses the banking, goes out wide onto the exit, but not too far. Once again, that curb is not nice to your traction either. And then we're coming to the high-speed corner of turn 7, if I'm not mistaken, where you throw the car around into that long right-hander, and then another very quick short right-hander. It's not easy for the left front here, because there's a lot of ballast that goes onto that left front tyre. Not so much the rear end, because you don't need to be too careful with the acceleration here and there, as Kryptonite then comes into the final sector. We usually couldn't see anything anymore in real life as soon as the race ended, when Max Verstappen won in real life with the orange fog coming out. And let's see what Kryptonite can do out of the final corner, out of turn 14 he comes. And is it going to be a new provisional pole? No, it's not. Only just off his personal best so far. Let's see what Fruitful can do, or let's rather look at the speaker, because he is slightly up on his time. That doesn't look good. Nah, it either was lag or it was really him losing the rear end. It looks like he actually lost the rear end there, so I don't think that's going to be a proper lap time. Now he's gone into the pit lane as well. No use for him to finish that one, but maybe it's useful for Fruitful to finish that lap, which he is on right now. And it's purple in the middle sector, and he's quite far up on his time. If he just can find that little bit more in that final sector, he might go on to provisional pole here, as he comes around the final braking zone and into the final back corner of turn 14. Let's see where he ends up. If he slightly improves his final sector, that's going to be a provisional pole for him. Is it going to be? Yes, it is. Even by 1/10 of a second ahead of Kryptonite, as Johan is preparing to start his lap. Jabraka has just started his. I think Malay, did he just finish his lap? No, he just started one as well. Kieran also just started his lap. So let's just stay with Jabraka for the moment in his Aston Martin. Coming up to the lovely turn 7. Zandvoort in general, very tricky, because you can see there's no runoff as around many other circuits that are being introduced nowadays into Formula 1, which are a majority are street circuits. Oh, as he loses the rear end, and that is Jabraka's lap time out of the window. Let's see if Mali is able to improve. Coming around turn 10 here. A lot of flowing corners. If you can find a nice rhythm, this track is really fun to drive. And it hasn't got any runoff, it's just grass and gravel, and Mali is quite far up on his lap time. Purple middle sector for him. And then it's just 2 more corners to go, which he needs to nail if he wants to have that pole for the moment. With 7 minutes to go, he's about to cross the line. Where does the clock stop? It stops at a 1:10.2, and it's just 21 thousandths of pole position. Let's see if Johan can improve. He's slightly down on his time so far. Let's see if he can find some little bit of extra time in the final sector. It looks like he has. Only jumps ahead of his teammate, but he stays behind Kryptonite Mally and Fruitful. Same with Max, who's not on a lap, I think. Or is he? Nah, he's not. If I look at the time, he's definitely not. Jabraka has decided to go for another one. Second attempt on this set of tyres. See if we can improve now. As we got Black Box jumping way up inside the top 10. Into P4 he goes, out of both S. Martins and Max. See if Jabraka will be able to gain a little bit of time. You can see the gaps are not really far from each other, and then you have to remember that Kryptonite has set that lap on his first try. So the track got a lot quicker, obviously, in the meantime. Jabraka slightly up on his time in the middle sector. Can he find even more time in the final one? It's not many corners where you can improve, but it's still time to find that little bit of extra pace, but he slightly misses the apex out of turn 13, and let's see, I think he will pit. No, he won't. He actually crosses the line, and he does improve by even a 10. And I think he's got a bit more time to find on that lap. As Kryptonite also has time to find, it looks like. Half a tenth up in the first sector. That's probably not going to be his last time of the day, but still, it would be important for him to set another good one, to not be too far away from the top group. It's a lot more easy to fight with a good lap time in the back on your final run. He's 1.5 tenths up. That will bring him well onto provisional pole position for now as he comes around turn 12 and then into 13. Let's see if he can hit the apex quite nicely. Yes, a little closer to the inside curve than we saw from Jabraka before, and he's about to cross the line, and I think we're about to witness a new provisional pole time from Kryptonite. Absolutely smashes it with an improvement of over 2 tenths of a second, and we're getting closer and closer to the 109s, where the 110.1 set on probably his second to last lap of the day for the speaker in P8. Now Alberto, is he out on a lap? No, he is not. Let's see if Zane is. Yes, he is, and he is improving. It could bring himself and his Alpine up the order a little bit, and he jumps up from P18 to P15. A slight improvement for the man in that blue Alpine with the number 97. And I think apart from that, everyone is at least mentally preparing themselves for that final run in qualifying. And we all know how important qualifying is around this track. It is easy to make a mistake, so everything can still switch around, but if you've got a good starting position, it's obviously easier to defend from someone than to attack around a track where overtaking opportunities are limited. I think the only proper way of overtaking is down into turn 1, and it's not a long run down there. And then maybe turn 11. But I think the DRS zone might be a bit too short for that. Andrew's out. He's gone for a different timing than the majority of the others. He's preparing his tyres now. As he starts his lap, his teammate is up P8, sorry. He is in P12, let's see, around turn 1. Nice and tidy, clip the curb on the outside. Use all the track width here, and then into, that was maybe a bit too high up, but it still looked quite nicely and flowing what he did there. See what the first second split says. There's a slow Williams ahead of him. Hopefully that won't get in the way. Oh, I think actually it's an Alpine. No, it's a Williams who gets out the way quite nicely. And that was a nice turn 8 from him there into turn 9. And then the long swooping turn 10, where you need the good exit for that little straight here, which is one of the longest straights in Zardboard actually. Not even getting into 8th gear. And he's slightly up on his time by half a tenth. That would bring him ahead of Alberto at least, and maybe even inside the top 10 as he comes around the final 2 corners now into the banking of turn 14, and then it's just him on the way to the start and finish line. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 1:10.4, and it brings him ahead of his teammate Fede Spiga. Good stuff from him. Let's see what Fruitful can do in the meantime. He's the first one out of that top group to start his final lap. He's got a shot for pole, and he will try to use it as best as possible. So we got some predictions in the chat. Andreas says Kieran winning the race. Mark my words. Currently Kieran down at P10, but who knows? Doesn't look too great for him, and hopefully Fruitful won't get into too much traffic here. Once we go on board, we will... Oh, see better! And he clips the curb on the outside. He just goes a little bit too wide. And that is his lap time out the window completely. He won't be in contention for pole position. Only if he can save enough ERS to go for another run. Don't know what his tires are looking like. Let's see what Jabraka can do. Looks like he is still in contention for pole position at the moment. What does it? Second sector split says yes, it's quite an improvement, but he needs even more if he wants to have a shot at pole position here. Around the final 2 corners he comes now. I think he lost a little bit of time on his previous fastest lap through turn 13. It looked like that one was a bit closer to the apex this time, and he tries to get the shortest possible run. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Only a bit more than a 10th behind. It looks like Mali has invalidated. Yes, he has. Black box. Another one with a chance for pole position. He needs to improve by 2.5 tenths though. He comes across the line. Does not do so. Only P5 for the McLaren driver. Kryptonite looks... Now he's not on a lap. He has his final run done. Max only jumps into P4, so it looks like Fruitful is going to be the only one to be able to take that pole position away from Kryptonite, or maybe at least P2 from Jabraka. It's only 3 thousandths in between Fruitful and Jabraka. Kieran jumps up into P5. Good lap from him there right at the end of qualifying, and let's see what Fruitful can do. He's up quite a lot. If he can finish this lap with the purple middle sector he did just then, it looked a bit wide through here. His ERS is coming to its limits. It's getting low, so hopefully his performance won't be affected by that as he comes around turn 14. Is it going to be enough for Fruitful? He's sitting in the slipstream. He's trying to get everything out of the car. It's not enough for Fruitful, and I think that was all down to his ERS not being fully recharged before he went for another run after he made the big mistake through turn 8 on his previous attempt. And you saw the ERS was going down more and more, and in the end he was at, I think, 2%. And once you hit that 10%, it's gonna use less ERS, and with that it's gonna harm your pace a little bit. And I think that's what cost him pole position in the end. But at least he got Jabraka. He knows he's got the pace in the car. And it's P2. He's got the inside line for turn 1 and a good chance on the first lap. But remember, everyone, they need to be careful. We saw what happened in Bahrain. Surprisingly though, championship leader Rick all the way down in, I think, P10 it was. So P12 even. Oh wow, that's quite far down. Zane improved quite a lot actually, I just realised. Up into P10 he went. Black Box wasn't able to set another lap. Ghost King struggling straight away from the start of this quali session. Fede Spiga dropped down quite a lot, but Rick, I mean, he showed that his race pace is a lot better than his quali pace, but still, starting down in 12, it's not going to be easy for our championship leader to climb his way back up. I mean, he's only 3.5 tenths off, but it's a short circuit in Zandvoort. It's not easy to overtake. So he's got a lot of work to do in this race. Still far from over though, and everything to play for him. But Kryptonite once again takes pole position, takes a good starting position for this race, and I hope this time he can hold that pace all the way to the end, because in the race we saw Rick was slightly quicker, but I think Rick is not going to be his main competitor for tonight. He's got drivers who are a lot closer behind him. One of them is going to be fruitful in the McLaren. Another one is going to be Jabraka in the Aston Martin. Very close at the front. Very close at the front indeed. And I'm just going to use that little bit of time I got now while it loads to rest my voice, to be prepared for the start of the third round of the PSGL F3 season. As we're getting closer and closer to the start of this race. Once again, no formation lap as always, due to the glitch. And once that timer has gone up, which is about to happen now, and we can see the lights coming on while we are up to 5 red lights. And we are underway in Zandvoort. It looks like Kryptonite got away pretty well. He has to defend himself from Fruitful. He pulls to the inside, closes the door into turn 1, and he keeps the lead. He stays in the lead. Max is trying to get past Jabraka here through turn 1. They're still side by side, it looks like, but it looks like Max has got it in the background. We've got Mali and Kieran fighting it out. Kieran trying to defend his 5th place where he started in. He's got the inside line through the banking, and now even has a chance with the crash in the background. That is Yoan, and he's out of this race. Kieran has to tuck in behind that Aston Martin, and we've got a safety car on lap 1 that looked quite like a hefty impact from the Aston Martin. I don't know if he was tagged or just lost the rear end, but it's actually only a virtual safety car. Don't see a safety car dot out on the track. I'm just quickly making sure. No, everyone. All right. Usually we have it that basically everyone starts on the hard compound. But Black Box, Zane, Victor, and Ghost King have all decided to start on the medium compound. Interesting. Very interesting. But good start from Kryptonite. He remained in the lead. Had a Fruitful. He covered the inside line very early on, but his getaway was good enough to not really be under pressure from the McLaren behind, who tucked in behind nicely. Max also with a good start, getting past Jabraka straight away. Kieran then nice defending against Mali. Black Box also couldn't really make use of his medium tyres all too well, as the VSC will probably come in within the next few laps. Rick also with a good start up to P9, our championship leader. And I look at the position changes. Yeah, at the back it happened quite a lot. Damiano had to pit now as the VSC has gone in, and Max is trying to attack Fruitful into turn 7. Glad he backed out there. That could have ended in tears, and it looks like Kryptonite didn't have the best of restarts here, as we are on board with Max, and you can see how much pressure those guys are putting on that Alfa Romeo being in the lead here. Very close gaps right now, and we've got Mercedes outbraking himself in the background. I think that was Mali, who now lost the position to Black Box now. He's got the inside line for turn 10 though, and turn 11 is the outside line once again, so it's going to be tricky for those two. Black Box on the faster medium compound, and he's got the inside line for turn 11 now, and yes, he has got the position and is past that Mercedes. He needs to make use of those mediums as good as possible, and it looks like Kieran is not too far away from Jabraka ahead at the moment. See if there are any more overtakes. Zane having a little look at Mali here, who just lost the place to Black Box a couple of corners ago. Zane also... Oh, I think that was a bit of contact. I think Mali's struggling quite a lot, and that gave Zane now the chance to get past the Mercedes on his mediums as well. And he does so even before turn 7. Nicely done He used that mistake from Mali and got past right away. That's what you need to do on those mediums. Make use of them as best as possible. And both medium runners have gained 1 position each now. And the next target is going to be Kieran for Black Box. And you can see how close he is to that AlphaTauri. He's got the DRS, but everyone's got DRS. But Black Box is fancying a little move down into turn 10. He's going for it. Down the inside he goes. And a very committed move from Black Box here. And he gets past on his mediums. Good stuff from him in those first 3 laps. He's up into P5 with that. Kieran dropping down to P6 with that. And now having to defend from Zane if he gets any closer. Kryptonite not quite able to pull away, and we can see that Victor's fancying a little move into turn 1 on Andrew down the inside, also on mediums, the Williams driver, and he's got the move done even before reaching turn 2. Nice drop indeed from the Williams driver, and you can see Jabraka has been pressurized by Kieran now as Black Box up into P4. Not quite sure if I missed that or if I'm just having a wrong memory, but you can see it. Looks like Jabrak is struggling a little bit right now in this phase of the race. After losing his original starting position in P3 to Max on the opening lap already, he's dropped down to P5 in the meantime and isn't looking all too quick. But it looks like he'd rather has to look in his mirrors rather than at the car in front. Kieran now with a little bit of a mistake. Lost a bit of time and that might cost him dearly in the form of P7 with Zane being behind on the mediums. Let's see, Zane is not really using his ERS at the moment though. He's taking his time. Smart decision. Max not letting go fruitful either. But it looks like Kryptonite in the race today. I don't want to jinx anything, but it looks like his race pace is a bit more promising than it was last week in Bahrain. With football having to leave a little bit of a gap. He's definitely not close enough to make a move at any stage in the upcoming position, in the upcoming laps. And it looks like Zane has gone past Kieran. I would have loved to see that move. But sadly I didn't. Missed that one. Kieran's dropped down to P7 now after starting 5th. You can see the medium runners have got a big advantage right now as Black Box is fancying a little move. He had a little look on the inside trying to make Max a bit nervous. Didn't quite manage to do so. Look at the ERS amount that Max has got though in comparison to Black Box, who's almost drained his battery completely already. With Kryptonite being in the lead ahead of Fruitful, Max and then Black Box as the first driver on the mediums. Trying to make moves, but it's not going to be easy without the help of a fully charged battery. Max gained a little bit of time on Fruitful, so did Fruitful, and Kryptonite looks like he didn't have the best uplands there. Zane already catching up to Jabraka now after he made his move on Kieran 1 lap ago. He's now on the hunt for the Aston Martin ahead. Beautiful camera shot scene. Basically, yeah, it's P1 all the way down to P17, all on equal pace more or less. Everyone inside 1 second of each other. Everyone's got DRS on the driver up ahead, even worse than for Damiano, who's way down in last place after he had to make a pit stop. On lap 1. Let's see if any moves can be made here on this lap. Not yet, I think. And as I got past his teammate, it looks like. Ferrari's well outside the points at the moment. A good weekend for them so far in P15 and 16. can't say the same thing about the other. It's technically not Italian because it's a Swiss team, as it's still Sauber in some kind of way. But Alfa Romeo as an Italian brand, it's looking way better for them. And P1 and P9, Rick not able to make any more moves after his solid start from P12 up to P9. He hasn't made any inroads on the guys ahead so far, while his teammate Kryptonite is sitting comfortably in the lead of this race. To be close here. Ah, yeah, Black Box having a little look on Max, but his battery charge is just not allowing it to push as much as he'd like to on those straights. You'll need a surprising move at some point. Don't think a simple DRS overtake will do the job. With that battery charge he's got at the moment. Needs hope for either mistake from Max, or he just, needs to be patient, or just a bit more aggressive to actually then make a move. But you can't afford to make a big mistake, can't afford to outbrake yourself, because then it's race over for both of the guys. He is close, but he's not close enough, because Max still has got that battery charge that he needs to defend. Look at that. He's handling it very well. I think Max can go a lot faster than he is right now. And he's not even using it at the moment, because he doesn't need to. Or does he? Maybe now on this lap down the inside, maybe? No. Black Box stays behind for probably a whole nother lap. We're already on lap 9, and that is not what Black Box wanted on his mediums. If he wants to make use of them, he needs to do it within the next couple of laps, otherwise that full advantage is gone for him. Zane's got a similar problem. Not much ERS in comparison to Jabraka, who's on hard ahead of him. Looks like at the start, when everyone had a fully charged battery, the mediums were very powerful, but now it's come down to the tactical side of racing. The ERS deployment and the battery charge, as Zane got a bit wide here. Didn't lose too much time though. Still not too far behind the Aston Martin of Jabraka ahead. But you can see still way too far to make a move. Black Box had to back off a little bit. Can't get close enough footfall. Uncomfortable. Kryptonite not having that much ERS. At the moment at least. Still comfortably leading this race though. Comfortably, I say, as he's only got a couple of 10 of a gap. Let's see if Zane is actually willing to make a move here. He is close, but where can he go past? Not a wide track, and especially around that twisty part here, very risky to go for a move. And oh, I think Kieran has spun. Yes, Kieran is around. I don't know if that was all by himself or if he was maybe touched by another car. Anyway, he spins around, and that is him down in P14. It's a shame for Kieran. So his advantage on the medium tyre is completely gone now. And Max is still, I think Max is in a very, very good position here in this race. Look at the amount of battery he's got left. He knows he can take his time. And everything is fine for him at the moment. He's sitting comfortably in P3 on his hard tyres. While I see that Jake has just joined the session. Well, I just need to adjust the party audio then. Real quick. because that surprised me. And hopefully, yeah, the sound should be better now. And hello, Jake. Welcome.
Yeah, hello. It's great to be here. Apologies that I am a little bit late, but better late than never. And from what I can see, it looks like there's quite a big DRS train at the moment, and there's still a lot of people in contention.
Yeah, we had not too many overtakes. We had the medium runners going for a bit of a hunt at the start of this race, as I just need to make your audio a bit more loud so the viewers can hear you a bit better. But now that, part of the medium advantage is a bit gone with Black Box being on the mediums, he's trying to recharge his battery now a little bit, but he just couldn't get past Max, who's got an incredible amount of ERS left, and he's in a prime position at the moment because you can see he doesn't need the ERS at the moment to stay with the guys ahead.
Yeah, he was threatening Fruitful for a split second there at the opening stages of a lap, and like you say, those on medium tyres have kind of had that phase of the race to make up ground, and now you may start to see them struggle, but they of course will be potentially making an earlier pit stop than the hard tyre runners, so we'll see then if they can make up some of that ground back with the undercut.
Yeah, it's definitely it's became a bit of a habit. Obviously, it's your first race of the season now. First time you are able to witness the racing. The racing was brilliant in the first 2 rounds, but it was more on the second stint than it was on the first stint. The first stint has seemed to become a little bit of a more tactical one, as now Max is going for it. He's using his ERS. He's been pushed to the wall to the inside. It's very close in between him and Fruitful, but he's got the move done, or has he? He's still on the inside line coming through turn 1 now. A little bit of contact was made, I think, but it was very close in between those two. But hard and fair racing so far, and Fruitful defends himself quite well. Wow, that was close. That reminded me of Michael Schumacher and Barrichello in Hungary in 2010. That was so close to the inside wall. Max saw the gap, he went for it, and there was not much more than a car's width on the inside up until that wall, I think.
No, absolutely squeezed him to the limit, and fair play to Max, kept his foot in. Wasn't going to be troubled by the McLaren's rather aggressive defending, but fair play to Fruitful, kept the position. And they still haven't lost the ground to Kryptonite, which is the key sometimes. If you battle in a DRS train, you can become detached from the car in front, but those two have managed to keep with Kryptonite, and he hasn't pulled away.
Yeah, the habit so far in the first 2 rounds was that around the pit stop phase, as soon as everyone makes their one and only pit stop, or one and only scheduled pit stop, as we have a yellow flag, and I think that is Victor. Spun around, yes, and I think he's beached. Yeah, he has to reset onto track. And he is now in second to last, actually, because there's still Damiano, who lost quite a lot of time, actually. And it's getting a bit overcast, so we might see some rain. But yeah, as soon as everyone pits, it more or less goes down, because then it's the time for the drivers that they know they need to use their battery deployment. They can fight, because there's no more pit stop coming up that is scheduled, and they're going for it. And usually on the second stint we see a lot of action and a lot of good racing. While now it's very strategic in most situations, at least. Oh, and there's a mistake from Kryptonite. He goes wide and he loses the race lead, and Max goes through on the outside. Outstanding stuff from Max to use that little advantage he had, because he was not immediately behind Kryptonite, who just slightly went offline, and that was enough to put his front right wheel on the grass on the right hand side. He loses the car, and then the car goes off completely. Fruitful has to brake a little bit to not run into Kryptonite, and now there's Black Box already also going down into turn 1 in P2.
Yeah, I don't think Fruitful thought that too much against his teammate and fellow TF driver, and yeah, the rare mistake from Kryptonite out front. Probably was hoping he could have built a bit of a gap up to that point and just made a smallest of mistakes, and that's dropped him down to P4. And more importantly, he's now not in that position that he wants to be at the front. Max took brilliant advantage of that, to be fair, and and now he's at the front of the race with more ERS to spare. So Max at the moment has got the best of both worlds, and he'll hope to see if he can try and pull away from those McLarens. I'm not sure if Black Box, it makes sense for the medium tyre runner now to be in front of a hard tyre runner. McLaren may look to switch that one back.
Yeah, I don't know how it looks in terms of the weather perspective, because it is getting quite overcast, and that would make sense then why some of those guys started on mediums, because maybe they thought that they could make it all the way until the rain falls. But obviously there's no guarantee that there is going to be rain. It looks like Mali is about to make a move now on Zane. And you can see that the medium advantage, just what you talked about a second ago, as they're still side by side, because Zane doesn't want to give up as Mali loses the back end. Coming out of turn 1, they're still side by side, they're coming through turn 2. But still Mali makes the move, slight contact I think, and Rick is looking for the outside, but can't quite get past. But it looks like, yeah, the medium advantage is now completely gone. And yeah, McLaren might want to switch that one back, so Max doesn't get away and isn't able to build that gap. But very, very unusual for Kryptonite in general this season. Also in the second round last week in Bahrain, he made a similar mistake where he lost the rear end, and because of that lost a position to his teammate Rick, who in the end then won the race. And similar thing here today, as Victor spun once again through turn 3 this time. And similar thing once again here today. Makes a mistake, loses not only the lead, but drops down to P4. And he's got a lot of work to do now.
Yeah, the pleasure to commentate over Kryptonite over a few rounds of a Crossplay Cup. And although he wasn't contending at the front, he often showed some pretty decent consistency outside the top 10. But it can be difficult sometimes. You come up against drivers who are much more at your skill level. You can sometimes make those little bit of mistakes more because you know how crucial they are, as opposed to a Crossplay Cup where he was one of the slower guys, and maybe that takes a bit of the pressure off. But yeah, Kryptonite down to 4th now, and you know he's had a solid start to the season. He's looking to build on that, but little mistakes like that could cost him. And as you can see, he's in danger of losing the DRS to Fruitful, which may mean he comes under threat from Jabraka behind.
Yeah, right now he's just outside that 1 second window, who's gone into it now. And you can see Max, he's trying to use his ERS as best as possible, but he's just not able to get enough time in between him and Black Box, who's also pushing a lot. Same with Fruitful as he loses the rear end coming out of turn 11 here, turn 12, sorry. And he's lost the DRS, I think, to his teammate. Yes, he has, and Alberto has crashed in the final corner. And there's also Andrew's spun, so I wonder if that might have had anything to do with that. And I think we've got a safety car. Yes, we have got a safety car out on track. Oh, a nearly crash in between Victor and Damiano. Victor pulled out and now he has retired. Okay, that was odd, but
I was about to say Trust Mobarak has gained from that and pitted under the safety car, but I don't know if there is rain in the air, but he's gone into intermediates.
Federspiga is out of this race. Has he crashed with the safety car? I think we've got rain on the board, Jake, sorry. I think we've got rain coming up, and that will completely make sense why some of the guys started on mediums. Because look at Damiano, he's also out on inters. Anru's out on inters. Herzai is the only one who pitted and went onto a slick tyre.
Yeah, but now in that situation where they're just wanting the rain to fall right now, you know, that would benefit them hugely. I mean, obviously they're under safety car conditions right now, so it doesn't affect them too much being on the wrong tyre. But the sooner it rains, the better, really, for them, because the last thing you want to do is restart on cold tyres that aren't really suitable for the grip on the track. So this is very much just looking up to the skies and praying.
Max baited Black Box, and it started to rain. Oh, I think Max might have played himself there. Kryptonite stays out as well. Jabraka and Mali also in the top 4 now, as Black Box and Fruitful both pitted. Fruitful is going to lose a lot of time now because of that double stack. Maybe even he's going to drop behind Kieran. Yes, he is. Oh no, he's not. Sorry. But he's dropped behind Rick. And Rick is suddenly back in the game. He was sitting in P8 all race long, didn't really make a lot of moves. And now suddenly he's in P6 with the top 4 all on the slicks. And Jake, you know what I'm thinking right now? It might be just a small period of rain. That's maybe why the top 4 have stayed out.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made any sense really for Max to bail out of that unless he believes that this is just a small shower that's going to pass. There isn't really any other reason to stay out really from Max's point of view, so he stayed out. Kryptonite, Jabraka and Marley as well. But if it is going to rain for the rest of the race, you know, I was going to mention Rick, who's our championship leader, had podiums in the first 2 races, wasn't really looking in contention, but if this rain's here to stay, he now finds himself in effective P2. So really from nowhere, he's right in the game for potentially getting this race victory.
Yeah, I'm right now just trying to find out. It's a difficult one because I was looking at that fake pit entry from Max. Kryptonite now pits a lap later than all the others. He's going to lose those spots that he wouldn't have lost. Mali also pits now. It's 1 lap too late, I think, but they are now. It's a late commitment for the mediums, but it is a commitment to the medium, to the Inters. Sorry. Jabraka and Max in the meantime decide to stay out.
I mean, if a safety car was to come in this lap, I would say at the moment the track is very still much favoured towards the dry tyres. It doesn't. The rain's coming down, but I wouldn't say as of yet it's really affecting what it looks like on the track. So it's such a tough one to call, but Max and Jabraka have very much backed themselves into a corner here. They're very much committing to this rain not having too much of an impact on this race. Otherwise, they're in effect going to drop right to the back of this field when they're in Max's case especially, tremendous positions beforehand.
I'm just thinking about that fake pit entry from Max, because it is prohibited to put a full tyre onto that painted area. Not the white line, but the painted area that then splits the pit lane and the track itself. And I'm not sure if that little dummy to the right and then back to the left, if he touched a tyre onto that painted area. I'm not quite sure, but if he did, it's going to be a post-race penalty, which could be crucial for the end of the race, as the safety car comes in now. And like you've mentioned,
don't think it's ready for Inters yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's still way too dry, and that might be the chance for Max and Jabraka to build up that gap to let the other guys, all the other 13 drivers out on this track now, to destroy and overheat their intermediate tyres, and then to switch onto the Inters, as Max is trying to go as soon as possible. And it was a horrible restart for Jabraka, who's already under pressure from those guys on the Inters. That would be awful. Look at Rick, who's trying to make moves on Black Box now, but he hasn't got the move done just yet. It looks like the Inters are not too different from the slicks right now, but at least now it looks like Jabraka's putting away a bit more, as Max is in the lead by nearly a second. I think it's a crossover period now. I think they're about equal pace. Maybe the Inters are even quicker, because look at that, they're not really losing too much time, are they? Oh, now in the quick corners, look at that, 2/10s.
Yeah,
that Jabraka just gained. Oh, it's close. It's really close. But Max is doing everything he can right now as Mobarak and Kieran are fighting. Oh, it looks chaotic here. And look at Mobarak. He's looking for the inside line. He makes it 3 wide coming through turn 10. Is that going to go well? Yes, it is. Because they're all treating each other with a lot of respect here. Kieran loses out to both of them as Mobarak is still trying to get past. We've got Zane having a little look, and then Ghost King slightly outbraked himself. Mobarak trying to rejoin the track. It's a lot of chaos now. Once again, 3 wide coming on to turn 13 now, and Kieran got his position back. He's behind Mobarak now, but wow, that was chaotic, and I'm surprised no one crashed there.
Yeah, I don't know if Mobarak potentially should have almost bailed out of that once he went into the gravel, but he was determined to keep the positions, and it's causing absolute bedlam behind him. We've got several drivers fighting, and I look at Kryptonite and Marley, and I think, were they potentially better off just sticking to that plan that they had to stay on the intermediate tyres. Oh, as we've got contact between Kieran and Mobarak. Kieran trying to force his way through, and looks like he has done so.
Yeah,
but,
that was very tight in between those two guys. But well done that both keep their car on the track in one piece, which is the most important thing. Yeah, like you mentioned, Kryptonite and Mali down in P11 and P12 in all that chaos, especially in such a crossover period. It's not nice to be in that position. Max, in the meantime, doing everything he can, building up a gap of 2.3 now. Zane very close to the rear end of Ghost King at the moment. Maybe he fancies a little move down into turn 10. No, not yet. He stays behind for now. Turn 11, sorry. Getting a bit confused with the corners. But it looks like Jabraka is struggling a lot more than Max is at the moment, because he can barely hold on to P2 at the minute, and he's pitted now, and same with Max. So Black Box takes the lead, and there goes Rick down the inside, maybe into turn 1. Our championship leader's looking to take the race lead on lap 23, but he hasn't quite done so. And it looks like Max and Jabraka might have just gambled a bit too much on that strategy.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I'm guessing this must be an error, but Jabraka is on mediums, not inters. So,
okay.
Unless that isn't a mistake, and he's thinking the rain's going to go away, and he's just doing his normal one-stop race. But he's very much going against the grain here. He's the only driver not on intermediates, and I feel like that's an error, that he's maybe not switched a tyre when he's coming to pit. But
yeah, look at the track. It's way too it's too wet for the slicks now. But out of nowhere, Rick qualifying in P12, moving up to P9 on lap 1, which was solid. Then not having a single battle for the entirety of the race, as Ghost King has outbraked himself and now lost the place to Mobarak, I think. Oh, they're still side by side. Mobarak now with the inside line through turn 13. That should be enough to make the move. Yes, he does. And there goes Zay, then uses that disadvantage that Ghost King had because of that poor exit through that fight.
Rick,
and now Andrew's there. And Rick for the lead as well. Rick around the outside through turn 1. He's got the outside line. He's been pushed onto the curb. And now he's got the outside line for turn 2. But the inside for turn 3. They're still side by side. Very close to each other. Not a lot of room given on the inside. But they're still side by side. And it looks like Rick has taken it. Yes, he has.
Oh, that's a stunning driving from the pair of them there. So close. Not giving each other an inch. But just about avoiding any bad collision there. And Rick, fair play to him, from 12th place on the grid. Looks like he wasn't really in contention for this win, but for whatever reason, he's called the strategy spot on, and he now leads this race, although those two McLarens look like they're far from finished for his battle for the lead. And just keep an eye on Kieran as well in P4, because the top 4 have pulled away, really, because Trust Mobarak's kind of become a bit of a moving chicane.
Oh, but look at Black Box. Black Box is then here for round 2 into turn 11. He goes down the inside, not much room given once again through turn 12 then, and into turn 13. They're still going to be side by side with Rick on the outside, but he's been pushed out wide, or is he? He's still side by side, but he's given some room on the outside. Can he hold it around the banking here on the outside? He's got a bit of ERS left, and he's got the great exit that he needed to stay ahead, and he now needs to cover the inside line if he is able to. Yes, he is. Into turn 1, and there goes Fruitful. Wow, what a battle for the race win here. Out of nowhere, Rick is up in this fight, and so are the two McLarens. And now, once, as you said, Kieran is here as well.
Yeah, last season's F4 champion.
It just took some rain, and everything went down. Wow, this is great. This is great stuff and great battling. And it looks like Fruitful has now got the opportunity to try and overtake the championship leader, Rick, who's come out of absolutely nowhere. His pace wasn't that great on the slicks. I mean, he was stuck in the DRS train, okay, but out of nowhere, with a good strategy call, he's in the lead of this race with only 12 laps to go now.
Yeah, he's just got to be wary, because it doesn't look like those McLarens are going anywhere. And Kieran, I almost think for his sake, he's better just almost staying out of this fight at the moment, because I feel like chances are going to come his way if these three continue to battle the way they are doing. And you can see how much of it's slowing them down, because now that Zane and Anryu have cleared Mobarak, they are also closing into this fight. So it could be a 6-way battle very shortly at this rate.
Yeah, it looks like for this lap we're going to have a small break at least. in terms of side-by-side action inside the top 4. I don't want to say anything too early, but usually they'd be side-by-side by now. And it looks like in the background, Mobarak once again has to defend himself from Ghost King. He is able to hold on to P7 for now. He's got a 3-second time penalty. And there goes Ghost King down the inside. Good exit. They're going to be side by side through the very tricky, tight, quick section here. And Mobarak goes off the track. He comes the corner and rejoins very dangerously. And that didn't look too fair from him. Kryptonite is trying to use that to his advantage. And he does so, moving up into PA. But Mobarak is, like you've mentioned, a bit of a moving barrier right now, and oh yeah, he pushes out Mali wide, and there's once again more chaos. Mali now on the inside, small contact with Damiano as well, and it looks like he hasn't got the best of grip as he pushes Herzai off the track as well. Chaos at the back, and it's all cost. Oh, once again more contact. Oh no, and that is raced over for Herzai. I think, yeah, his front wing is not really there anymore. And that battle has ended in tears. A shame, really. As Kryptonite is now trying to get past Ghost King with a bit less of a problem. He's being pushed to the inside as we got a battle for the lead as well. As Rick is being attacked by Fruitful, and he does lose the position for now. And it looks like this time that fight isn't going to carry on into the second sector.
It's just to and fro in this battle for the lead, and you know, the McLarens, neither of them want to give this up. Kieran having a little look at Black Box, but there isn't really anywhere to go in this sector unless the car in front makes an error. But yeah, top 6 range pull away. Kryptonite finds himself back up into
Jake, are you still there? Because I just, are you there? Because you were cut off.
Oh, my apologies.
No worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kryptonite now back in P7, and his pace looked good, especially in the first end of this race. Andrew and Zayn fighting it out already once again, and there goes Andrew then into P5. And it looks like Fruitful has got some solid pace, and Rick needs to use his ERS if he wants to stay with him, to not completely lose the time that he needs so desperately to have the slipstream on the main straight to at least defend himself from Black Box, obviously taking 2 podiums in 2 races and without 1 race win and 1 third place. So it's been a great start to the season, and once again on course for a really good result here, even though it didn't look like it for the majority of this race. But it looks like Fruitful has got the pace.
I don't know how much the drivers pay attention to the standings, like sort of 3 races into the season, but Rick might just be thinking, you know, Fruitful in front of me, he's yet to score a point. He's not really my competition at the moment, and he might be focusing more on the likes of Black Box and Kieran, who he may consider to be more threatening competition, certainly in the championship. There are signs that Fruitful just has a bit too much pace for Rick at the moment. He's pulled a second clear, and Rick at the moment doesn't look like he's got much in the way of response. So yeah, right now Fruitful looking pretty strong, but we've seen already how easy it is to make a mistake around here, even in the dry, so can't rule anything out now that it's damp on the track.
Exactly, this race is far from over, even though we've only got 8 laps left now, this one included. And you can see Rick got a bit wide once again, and there is Black Box right behind him as Damiano's trying to go around the outside through turn 1 on Ghost King, and he gets past Ghost King, losing positions left, right and centre now, dropping back a little bit. And Kryptonite sees that big train ahead of him, but he still needs to gain another 3 seconds on those guys to be a part of that train. And Zayn is just about to join that one. Obviously no DRS in the wet weather conditions. It looks even more wet now. Maybe it even becomes full wet conditions at some point. But for the moment, we're still all on the intermediates.
I may have got this the wrong way around, but I don't know when it happened, but I'm sure a few laps ago Zayn was in front of Anryu, so I don't know if there's been an overtake there that we've missed at all, but I'm sure Anryu was behind Zayn a few laps ago, so there's been a change in position there,
No,
and now Anryu...
I called that actually. I called that on camera. I just mentioned it very shortly because after that there was the back for the race lead once again.
So much going on.
Yeah, exactly. So I just quickly mentioned it. It was around turn 12, sorry, where he made the move and went into P5, and it looks like he has got more pace than Zayn at the moment as well. And once again, another fight. I think that this time it's Max against Mali, both who have miscalculated their strategy. With Max was looking very quick and was looking very, as an obvious choice to name as a possible race winner as he loses the rear end, or that was just lag. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that strategic error that him and Mali and Kryptonite made cost them dearly. Even though Kryptonite pitted earlier and committed onto the inters, that what happened to Mali now. He lost the back end once again, and he's dropped out of the points even now. But yeah, Kryptonite did some kind of damage limitation, I would say, but still he's not going to be happy with that result, I think. And Kieran's losing time.
Yeah, Kira made a slight error in the middle part of a lap, which put him under threat from Amryu. I'm not sure if he's recovered from that quite, but here comes Black Box. He's got a great run onto Rick down the main straight. Is he going to have a go into turn 1? Of course, no DRS anymore. Oh, he thought about it. Oh, and the Alfa Romeo went really wide there, and I think there was a bit of contact there. I think Black Box was a little bit caught out there. Rick didn't seem like he broke too late, but the car just washed wide. I wonder if there's a little bit of damage on him as Marley retires. Is that in the pit lane? I believe it is, which is a bit of a surprise because you'd think he was running around the points. So,
yeah, he was 11th. He just lost the place to Max, and I think then had a lot of issues with the rear end. So I think he called it a day. Very unfortunate for him because his pace was looking quite good, and it almost into turn 1 it almost looked like Black Box was trying to make Rick nervous, but he made himself a bit more nervous than Rick, and now he's going for the inside line through turn 10. That was a move out of nowhere, basically, and he pushes Rick a bit wide, but he gets the move done as Rick is trying to control the car out of turn 10, and it looks like that move is done, and that's exactly what he needed. A surprising move, because you saw that Rick wasn't expecting that at all into turn 10, but he made it sick, and now it's a McLaren 1-2. Great stuff from Black Box.
Yeah, Rick, just for whatever reason, I don't know, like, say if he's got any damage on that car, but just like he's got any grip in these conditions. He put himself in a great position after the change to inters and the safety car period, but for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to quite have a pace at the moment, and he's dropping back. McLaren in the dream situation, they've got a 1-2 at the moment, and Rick will probably be looking more behind him than in front, based on what we're seeing. I think Kieran and potentially Amryu as well could have an opportunities to get past him. The Haas in particular, I would say, looks like he's got some good pace at the moment.
Yeah, I reckon Kryptonite in his Alfa Romeo is hoping for a big fight ahead, because the gap has come down to a bit more than 2 seconds now. It was up to nearly 4 at some point, but it's only 5 laps left, including this one. And it looks like, yeah, like I've mentioned, Rick's pace didn't look too amazing here tonight, but it looks like he's going to get away with still a very good result, and even gaining some points on Kryptonite and Ates, who's sadly once again ill after he already missed last week's round. Hopefully he will be recovered for next week. And we're still far from done in this race, and the gaps, even though it seemed like Fruitful had a lot of pace once he got past Rick, it's now settled down a little bit, and the gap is still around a second. So I don't think the pace difference is that massive.
No, and I think there's just little mistakes here and there from pretty much all the drivers, really, that keep bringing them either back towards the car in front or away from the car behind. It's kind of fluctuated in that regard. Obviously, it's so easy to make a mistake in these conditions, and all it's going to take, I see Black Box gaining on Fruitful for the race lead, and I just wonder here, is there going to be some team orders at play? Because, like I say, it's early days in the championship. You don't usually like to see team orders happen when you're only a few races in, but looking at it, Black Box at the moment's in a better championship position. Are they going to swap those McLaren drivers around?
Ooh, Black Box fancies a little look. Look at the amount of rain. The track is soaking wet. It looks like it's extremes conditions now, as Kryptonite actually got up into P6 as Zane lost a lot of time now. Look at the track. It's very, very wet, and Fruitful breaks himself, and it looks like the drivers are struggling a lot. Look at that rain. It's pouring down here at Zandvoort, and it seems like the drivers are struggling quite a lot, and especially when you go off the racing line now, you can see the entire track is filled with puddles off the racing line. So an overtake is even more difficult now, and Rick is back in the fight for the race win suddenly.
Yeah, I was going to say, if these drivers feel the need to pit, that will not be good news for McLaren, because of course they're right together on track. Yeah, Zane a bit further down towards the rear of the top 10 probably feels like he has less to lose, but they're really going to tiptoe around, and that's going to provide overtaking opportunities aplenty, you feel, as the drivers struggle to find grip.
Yeah, we might see some mistakes in there. He's definitely not going to gain that time back, but it looked like he had some front wing damage. Also, Max is trying to get past Damiano now. His damage limitation is still not done just yet, and he loses the rear end Damiano, and he smashes into the Williams of Max, but he is able to keep the car more or less under control and on the track, and especially what's most important, out of the wall. There was some good car control driving there from Max to keep the car out of that wall, and he managed to do so, luckily. And you can see the gaps are now going up and down even more because the track is just so wet. It's absolutely not the right tire that they are on. All are on inters, but it's definitely for wet conditions now.
Yeah, they're obviously running the risk against reward strategy and feeling that the time they'd gain switching to full wets isn't worth the loss they'd have in the pit lane. So it's a case of tiptoeing it round for his last few laps. And I'm just keeping a little eye on Zane here, who's quickly gaining on the cars in front, and just how much can he gain in these closing laps as drivers continue to struggle. But the top 5 is as you were, and just keep an eye on Kryptonite as well now, who is right there with these top 5 guys and has been closing that gap in steadily lap after lap. There could be some opportunities for him to move up from P6. As you said earlier, he's also in damage limitation mode after having to make that late stop to inters.
I tell you what, if this rain doesn't go down now suddenly, Zane might actually be at the end of this train on the final lap, because look at how much he's gaining. He's already just within one sector, he just gained 3 seconds on Ghost King ahead, and you can see how careful those drivers inside the top 10 are driving right now, apart from Zane, who's given it all, and the gap is already down to 10 seconds. Look at that, he's gaining so much.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see. Zane is just closing them in so quickly, and this part of the track is where he'll gain the most. And of course, even when he gets up to these guys, he can literally drive on whatever part of the racetrack he wants to get past. He's got so much more grip. I don't think they'll be able to defend from him, so it's going to be interesting here to see what he can gain as Black Box and Fruitful going side by side, and it looks like Black Box has taken the lead. Was that choreographed, or was that a mistake from Fruitful? Pretty hard to tell, to be honest, but a swap for the lead on just as we approach the final lap.
I think that was a mistake, because the gap was half a second, and I don't think at that point you would change positions. But Rick has a little look on the inside. You can see Kryptonite in the background is trying to get to stay ahead of Max. He forces him out wide off the racing line, but you can see just how much those guys are struggling, and you can see how much time they are losing in comparison to Zane, who is now only 4 seconds away from Ghost King ahead. And in the final sector, he might even be close enough to actually pass some of those guys here. But it's the final lap now, and everyone is just trying to keep the car under control, more or less. Maybe it was choreographed, like you mentioned, in between the two McLarens, because it looks like Fruitful is being used as a defensive shield for Black Box now against Rick, who seems to keep the car under control quite well, more or less. look at Zayn. I'm curious to see. I want to see how Zayn. Look at that. He flies past Damiano. Look at that. He's not far away.
No, it's going to be so tight come the end of the race. If it was one more lap, I'd say he could potentially have won this one, but he's going to be gutted. I think he's just going to run out of time. He may get Damiano if he's lucky. He won't lose out really too much from where he was, but you can see these guys carefully tiptoeing round, and it looks like McLaren have worked this one perfectly, and it's going to be a dream 1-2 for them.
And it's going to be Black Box as the race winner, who got past just one lap ago, and on lap 36 he crosses the line to win in the Netherlands ahead of his teammate Fruitful, Rick, and then Kieran out of Max, Andrew and Kryptonite, who dropped down to P7. Damiano just managed to stay ahead of Zayn on that final lap, and I tell you what, if Zayn didn't have to change his front wing, I think he could have won this race.
I mean, it's incredible to think, really. He's only 7 seconds off winning the race, and he finishes P9. It's, like you say, that front wing change would have cost him about 7 seconds. So, wow, it's just fine margins like that. And looking at it now, when a few drivers look at how Zayn did on those closing laps, a few drivers ahead might think, should I have made that gamble to win to full wets? Because a few of those guys ahead may have benefited from joining him and making that switch.
Also, if you look at the gap in between Andrew and Max, it says on me it's 0. I don't know if it actually was, because I didn't catch it. But if it was, then it must have been an absolute photo finish. Ghost King marked as driver of the day here. But we will have to wait and see who climbed up how many positions, because the order changed up so much. But here is your race winner in the McLaren Black Box. After 36 laps, after starting on the mediums, he made his strategy work. He pitted on the right lap, did nothing wrong all race. And in the end, that's what wins your races. And he's our Zandvoort winner in season 32 of PSGL F3. And that means we've got 3 different winners in the first 3 races.
Yeah, I'm gutted I didn't see that photo finish between Max and Amryu. I was actually looking at Damiano and Zayn, who had their own photo finish behind. But yeah, it's exactly the same split time. And if I'm right in saying as well, Max overtook Amryu because Amryu was in front. So a photo finish and I believe an overtake for Max as well, who really had some serious pace in those closing laps.
Yeah, so in the end, that is your provisional finishing order, with Black Box winning and Fruitful making it McLaren 1-2 ahead of our championship leader Rick, who recovered quite nicely. Didn't have the best pace, but in the end he finishes P3, and that's what you need to do if you want to win a championship. It's 3 podiums in 3 races now for Rick, ahead of Kieran in P4, who recovered quite well after his spin early on in the race, ahead of Max, who crossed the line at the exact same time as Andrew, it looks like. And then Kryptonite in P7, who did some damage limitation similar to Max. And we've got Damiano in P8, Zayn in P9. And I think Ghost King was in P10, wasn't he?
Yes,
right.
Ghost King rounded up the points. Wow, what an incredible race at Zandvoort. Can often be criticised for being a track that's difficult to overtake on, but all you got to do is throw a bit of wet weather into the equation mid-race, and all hell breaks loose. It really, really spiced this race up, and yeah, the second half of the race was edge of your seat stuff, and you really didn't know who was going to win until right at the end.
Yeah, that was it. Really completely turned the whole order upside down. I mean, you saw that it was just a split-second decision, and Max dummied the drivers behind him, including Black Box, which in the end turned out to be the exactly right strategy call to pit onto the Inters as soon as the safety car came out. Max left it late, and it didn't work, but sometimes you have got to take the risk. In hindsight, it's very easy to say what was wrong and what you should have done, but in that moment it's a split-second decision. So I think we can all understand that mistakes like that can happen, but it's very unfortunate for Max because he had some great pace here today. And yeah, that was quite entertaining. Didn't expect that after the first stint. But as soon as the rain came down, everything went down. And that was really fun to watch. And I'm glad you were here with me for at least the second half of the race, because otherwise I don't think my voice would have made it to the end.
Yeah, good to be back. Better late than never. And yeah, I'm excited to be for next week at Montreal. And yeah, I'll be here for the full event this time. So yeah, great to be back. And what a race to commentate on.
Yeah, so make sure to check out the other streams that were live just at the same time as we were. Also, make sure to follow PSGL on Twitter and YouTube. Subscribe to the PSGL channel. Also, check out our sponsor GT Omega and check the link in the description. Use the code PSGL at checkout for a 5% discount. And yeah, anything else to add, Jake?
No, just more of the same next week at Montreal. And yeah, we'll see you then.
All right. Make sure to tune back in next week. Once again, Monday, 8 p.m. UK time. And until then, goodbye and take care.